back anyhow.
You've caused me to lose my temper. A thing that has hardly ever happened to me before. I prefer to say nothing more tonight. I'm going to bed.
You'd better leave a note for Mrs. Pierce about the coffee, or she won't be told by me.
Damn Mrs. Pierce, and damn the coffee, and damn you! Damn my own folly in having lavished my hard-earned knowledge and the treasure of my regard and intimacy on a heartless gutter snipe.
For our final act, we return to Mrs. Higgins's home. The parlor maid announces Higgins and Pickering's unexpected arrival. Let's watch Mrs. Higgins' reaction as she learns that her son is in a frantic state.
Mr. Henry, ma'am, is downstairs with Colonel Pickering.
Well, show them up.
They're using the telephone, ma'am. Telephoning the police, I think.
What?
Mr. Henry's in a state, ma'am. I thought I'd better tell you.
If you'd told me Mr. Henry was not in a state, it would have been more surprising. Tell them to come up when they've finished with the police. I suppose he's lost something.
Yes, ma'am.
Go upstairs and tell Miss Doolittle that Mr. Henry and the Colonel are here. Ask her not to come down until I send for her.
Yes, ma'am.
Look here, Mother, here's the confounded thing.
Yes, dear. Good morning. What is it?
Eliza's bolted.
You must have frightened her.
Frightened her? Nonsense! She was left last night as usual to turn out the lights and all that, and instead of going to bed, she changed her clothes and went right off. Her bed wasn't slept in. She came in a cab for her things before 7 this morning, and that fool Mrs. Pierce let her have them without telling me a word about it. What am I to do?
Do without, I'm afraid, Henry. The girl has a perfect right to leave.
But I can't find anything. I don't know when my appointments are.
Good morning, Mrs. Higgins. Has Henry told you?
What does that ass of an inspector have to say? Has
you
offered a reward?
You don't mean to say you've set the police after Eliza?
Of course. What are the police for? What else could we do?
The inspector made a lot of difficulties. I really think he suspected us of some improper purpose.
Well, of course he did. What right have you to go to the police and give the girl's name as if she were a thief or a lost umbrella or something? Really?
But we want to find her.
We can't let her go like this, you know, Mrs. Higgins. What were we to do?
You have no more sense, either of you, than 2 children. Why, you
Mr. Henry, a gentleman wants to see you, very particular. He's been sent on from Wimple Street.
Oh, bother! I can't see anyone now. Who is it?
A Mr. Doolittle, sir.
Doolittle? Do you mean the dustman?
Dustman? Oh, no, sir. A gentleman.
By George, Pick, it's some relative of hers that she's gone to. Someone we knew nothing about. Send him up, quick.
Yes, sir.
Genteel relatives. Now we shall hear something.
Do you know any of her people?
Only her father, the fellow we told you about.
Mr. Doolittle.
See here. Do you see this? You done this to me.
Done what, man?
This, I tell you. Look at it. Look at this hat. Look at this coat.
Has Eliza been buying you clothes?
Eliza? Not half. Why would she buy me clothes?
Good morning, Mr. Doolittle. Won't you sit down?
Oh, beg your pardon, ma'am. Thank you. I am that full of what has happened to me that I can't think of anything else.
What the dickens has happened to you?
Well, I shouldn't mind if it only happened to me. Anything might happen to anybody and nobody to blame but Providence, as you might say. But this is something that you've done to me, yes. Yes, you, Henry Higgins.
Have you found Eliza? That's the point.
Have you lost her?
Yes!
Well, you have all the luck you have. I ain't found her, but she'll find me quick enough now after what you've done to me.
But what has my son done to you, Mr. Higgins? Mr.
Done to
Doolittle?
me. Ruined me, destroyed me happiness, tied me up and delivered me into the hands of middle-class morality.
You're raving. You're drunk. You're mad. I gave you £5. After that, I had 2 conversations with you at £0.50 an hour. I've never seen you since.
Oh, drunk am I? Mad am I? Tell me this. Did you or did you not write a letter to an old blighter in America that was given $5 million to found moral reform societies all over the world and that wanted you to invent a universal language for him?
What? Ezra D. Wannafeller? He's dead.
Yes, he's dead and now I'm done for. Now, did you or did you not write a letter to him to say that the most original moralist at present in England, to the best of your knowledge, was Alfred Doolittle, a common dustman?
After your last visit, I remember making some little silly joke of the kind, yes.
Ah, well, you may call it a silly joke. You put a lid on me right enough. Just give him the chance he wanted to show that Americans is not like us, that they recognize and respect in every class of like merit, however humble. Them words is in his bloomin' will, in which Henry Higgins, thanks to your silly joking, he leaves me a share in his pre-digested cheese trust for $3,000 a year on condition that I election is one of fellow Moral Reform World League as often as they ask me to, up to 6 times a year.
The devil he does. What a lark!
A safe thing for you, though, Doolittle. They won't ask you twice.
Oh, it ain't a lecturing I mind. I'll lecture 'em blue in the face, so I will, and not turn a hair. It's making a gentleman of me that I object to. Who asked them to make a gentleman of me? I was happy. I was free. I touched pretty nigh everyone for money when I wanted it. Same as I touched you, Henry Higgins. Now I am warranted, tied neck and heels, and everybody touches me for money. It's a fine thing for you, says my solicitor. Is it, says I. You mean it's a good thing for you, I says. When I was a poor man and had a solicitor once, when they found a pram in the dust cart, he got me off and got shut out of me and got me shut out of him as quick as he could. Same with the doctors. Used to shove me out of the hospital before I could hardly stand on my legs and nothing to pay. Now they find out that I'm not a healthy man and can't live unless he looks after me twice a day. But in the house, I'm not allowed to do a handstand for myself. Somebody else must do it and touch me for it. A year ago, I hadn't a relative in the world, except 2 or 3, that would speak to me. Now I'm 50 and not a decent wage work among the lot of them. I have to live for others and not for myself. That's middle-class morality. You talk of losing Eliza. Oh, don't you be anxious. I bet she's on me doorstep by this. She couldn't support herself easy by selling flowers if I wasn't respectable. And the next one to touch me will be you, Henry Higgins. Yes, that's right. Yeah, I'll have to learn to speak middle-class language from you instead of speaking proper English. Oh, that's where you come in. And I say, dare say that's what you've done it for.
My dear Mr. Doolittle, you need not suffer all this if you are really in earnest. Nobody can force you to accept this bequest. You can repudiate it. Isn't that so, Colonel Pickering?
I believe so.
Well, that's the tragedy of it, Mum. It's easy to say chuck it, but I haven't the nerve. I mean, which one of us has? We're all intimidated. Intimidated, ma'am, that's what we are. I mean, what is there for me if I chap at the workhouse in my old age? I have to dye my hair ready to keep a job as a dustman. If I was one of the deserving poor and had put by a bit, oh, well, I could chuck it. But then, why should I? Of course, the deserving poor might as well be millionaires. If all the happiness they have has, they don't know what happiness is. But I, as one of the undeserving poor, have nothing between me and the pauper's uniform but the same blasted 3,000 a year that shoves me into the middle class. Excuse the expression, ma'am. You use it yourself if you had my provocation. They've got you in every way you turn. It's a choice between the skinny of the workhouse and the charred bitters of the middle class. No, I haven't the nerve for the workhouse. Intimidated. That's what I am. Broke. Bought up. Happier men than me will call for my dust and touch me for their tip. And I'll look on helpless and envy them. And that's what your son has brought me to.
Well, I'm very glad you're not going to do anything foolish, Mr. Doolittle, for this solved the problem of Eliza's future. You can provide for her now.
Yes, ma'am. I'm expected to provide for everyone now out of 3,000 a year.
Nonsense! He can't provide for her. He shan't provide for her. She doesn't belong to him. I paid £5 for her. Doolittle, either you're an honest man or a rogue.
A little bit of both, Henry. Like the rest of us. A little bit of both.
Well, you took that money for the girl and you have no right to take her as well.
Henry, don't be absurd. If you really want to know where Eliza is, she is upstairs.
Upstairs? Then I shall jolly well soon fetch her downstairs.
Be quiet, Henry. Sit down. Sit down, dear, and listen to me.
Oh, very, very well, very well, very well. But I think you might have told me this half-hour ago.
Eliza came to me this morning. She passed the night partly walking about in a rage, partly trying to throw herself in the river and being afraid to, and partly in the Carlton Hotel. She told me of the brutal way you two treated her.
What?
Dear Mrs. Higgins, she has been telling you stories. We didn't treat her brutally. We hardly said a word to her, and we parted on particularly good terms. Higgins, did you bully her after I went to bed?
Just the other way about. She threw my slippers in my face. She behaved in the most outrageous way. I never gave her the slightest provocation. The slippers came bang in my face the second I entered the room, before I uttered a word, and used perfectly awful language.
But why? What did we do to her?
I think I know pretty well what you did. The girl is naturally rather affectionate, I think. Isn't she, Mr. Doolittle?
Very tender-hearted, ma'am. Takes after me.
Just so. She'd become attached to you both. She worked very hard for you, Henry. I don't think you quite realize what anything in the nature of brain work means to a girl like that. Well, it seems that when the great day of trial came and she did this wonderful thing for you without making a single mistake, you two sat there and never said a word to her, but talked together of how glad you were that it was all over, how you'd been bored with the whole thing. And then you were surprised when she threw your slippers at you. I should have thrown the fire irons at you.
We said nothing except that we were tired and wanted to go to bed, did we, Pick?
That was all.
Quite sure.
Absolutely, really, that was all.
You didn't thank her, or pet her, or admire her, or tell her how splendid she'd been.
But she knew all that. We didn't make speeches to her, if that's what you mean.
Perhaps we were a little inconsiderate. Is she very angry?
Well, I'm afraid she won't go back to Wimpole Street, especially now that Mr. Doolittle is able to keep up the position you have thrust her on her. But she says she's quite willing to meet you on friendly terms and let bygones be bygones.
Is she, by George? Ho!
If you promise to behave yourself, Henry, I'll ask her to come down. If not, go home, for you've taken up quite enough of my time.
Oh, all right. Very well. Pick, you behave yourself. Let us put on our Sunday best manners for this creature that we picked out of the mud.
Oh. Now, Henry Higgins, have some consideration for my feelings as a middle-class man.
Remember your promise, Henry. Mr. Doolittle, will you be so good as to step out on the balcony for a moment? I don't want Eliza to have the shock of your news until she's made it up with these two gentlemen. Would you mind?
As you wish, lady. Anything to help Henry to keep her off my hands?
Ask Miss Doolittle to come down, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Henry, be good.
I am behaving myself perfectly.
He is doing his best, Mrs. Higgins.
Henry, dearest, you don't look at all nice in that attitude.
I was not trying to look nice, Mother.
It doesn't matter, dear. I only wanted to make you speak.
Why?
Because you can't speak and whistle at the same time.
Where the devil is that girl? Are we to wait here all day?
How do you do, Professor Higgins? Are you quite well?
Am I?
Oh, but of course you are. You never are ill. So glad to see you again, Colonel Pickering. Quite chilly this morning, isn't it?
Don't you dare try this game on me. I taught it to you, and it doesn't take me in. Get up and come home. Don't be a fool.
Very nicely put indeed, Henry. No woman could resist such an invitation.
You let her alone, Mother. Let her speak for herself. You will jolly soon see whether she has an idea that I haven't put in her head or a word I haven't put in her mouth. I tell you, I created this thing out of the squashed cabbage leaves of Covent Garden, and now she pretends to play the fine lady with me?
Yes, dear, but you will sit down, won't you?
Will you drop me altogether, then? Colonel Pickering, now that the experiment is over.
Oh, don't. You mustn't think of it as an experiment. It shocks me somehow.
Oh, I'm only a squashed cabbage leaf.
No.
Oh, but I owe so much to you that I should be very unhappy if you forgot me.
It's very kind of you to say so, Miss Doolittle.
It's not because you paid for my dresses. I know you are generous to everybody with money, but it was from you that I learned really nice manners. And then it was what makes me a lady, isn't it? You see, it was so very difficult for me with the example of Professor Higgins always before me. I was brought up to be just like him, unable to control myself and using bad language on the slightest provocation. And I should never have known that ladies and gentlemen didn't behave like that if you hadn't been there.
Well,
That's only his way, you know. He doesn't mean it.
Oh, I didn't mean it either. When I was a flower girl, you know. It was only my way. But you see, I did it. And that's what makes the difference after all.
No doubt. Still, he taught you to speak, and I couldn't have done that, you know.
Of course, that is his profession.
Damnation!
It was just like learning to dance in the fashionable way. There was nothing more than that in it. But do you know what began my real education?
What?
Your calling me Miss Doolittle that day when I first came to Wimpole Street. That was the beginning of self-respect for me. And there were 100 little things you never noticed because they came naturally to you. Things about standing up and taking off your hat and opening doors.
No, that was nothing.
Yes, things that showed me you thought and felt about me as if I was something better than a scullery maid. Though, of course, I know you would have been just the same to a scullery maid if she had been let in the drawing room. You never took your boots off in the dining room when I was there.
Well, you mustn't mind that. Higgins takes his boots off all over the place.
I know. I am not blaming him. It is his way, isn't it? But it made such a difference to me that you didn't do it. You see, really and truly, apart from the things anyone can pick up, the difference between a lady and a flower girl is not how she behaves, but how she's treated. I shall always be a flower girl to Professor Higgins because he always treats me as a flower girl, and always will. But I know I can be a lady to you because you will treat me as a lady and you always will.
Please don't grind your teeth, Henry.
Well, this really is very nice of you, Miss Doolittle.
I should like you to call me Eliza now, if you would.
Thank you, Eliza. Of course.
And I should like Professor Higgins to keep calling me Miss Doolittle.
I'll see you damned first.
Henry.
Why don't you slang back at him? Don't stand it. It would do him a lot of good.
I can't. I could have done it once, but now I can't go back to it. Last night when I was wandering about, the girl spoke to me, and I tried to get back in the old way with her, but it was no use. You told me, you know, that when a child is brought to a foreign country, it picks up the language in a few weeks and forgets its own. Well, I am a child in your country. I have forgotten my own language and can speak nothing but yours. Thus the real break-off with the corner of Tottenham Court Road. Leaving Wimpole Street finishes it.
But you're coming back to Wimpole Street, aren't you? You'll forgive Higgins.
Forgive? Will she, by George? Let her go! Let her find out how she can get on without us. She will relapse into the gutter in 3 weeks without me at her elbow.
Oh, he's incorrigible, Eliza. You won't relapse, will you?
No. Not now, not ever again. I have learnt my lesson. I don't believe I could utter one of the old sounds I tried. Oh. Ow!
Just so! Ow! 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 Victory! Victory!
Well, can you blame the girl? Oh, don't look at me like that, Eliza. It ain't my fault. I've come into money.
You must have touched a millionaire this time, Dad.
I have. But I'm dressed something special today. I'm going to St. George's, Hanover Square. Your stepmother's going to marry me.
You're going to let yourself down to marry that low-common woman?
He ought to, Eliza. Why has she changed her mind?
Intimidated, Governor. Intimidated. More middle-class morality claims its victim. Won't you put on your hat, Eliza, and come and see me turned off?
If the Colonel says I must, I will demean myself and get insulted for my pains like enough.
No, don't be afraid. She never cants a word with anyone now, poor woman. Respectability spoke all the spirit out of her.
Be kind to them, Eliza. Make the best of it.
Oh well. Just to show that there's no ill feeling, I'll be back in a moment.
I feel uncommon nervous about the ceremony, Colonel. Oh, I wish you'd come and see me through it.
But you've been through it before, man. You were married to Eliza's mother.
Who told you that, Colonel?
Oh, well, nobody told me, but I concluded
No,
naturally.
that ain't the natural way, Colonel. It's only the middle class way. My way was always the undeserving way. But don't say nothing to Eliza. She don't know. Oh, I always had a delicacy about telling her.
You're quite right. We'll leave it so, if you don't mind.
And you'll come to the church, Colonel, and put me through straight.
With pleasure. As far as a bachelor can.
May I come, Mr. Doolittle? I should be very sorry to miss your wedding.
I should be honoured by your condescension, ma'am. And my poor old lady, well, would take it as a tremendous compliment. She's been very low, thinking of the happy days that are no more.
I'll order the carriage and get ready. I shan't be more than 15 minutes. I'm going to the church to see your father married, Eliza. You'd better come in the brougham with me. Colonel Pickering can go on with the bridegroom.
Bridegroom. What a word. It makes a man realise his position somehow.
Before I go, Eliza, do forgive him and come back to us.
I don't think Papa would allow me. Would you, Dad?
They played you all very cunning, Eliza, them two sportsmen. Now, if it had been only one of them, you could have nailed them. But you see, there was two, and one of them chaperoned the other, as you might say. It was awful of you, Colonel. I bear no malice. I should have done the same myself. I've been the victim of one woman after another all my life, and I don't grudge you the better of getting it of Eliza. I shan't interfere. But it's time for us to go, Colonel. So long, Henry. See you in St. George, Eliza.
Do stay with us, Eliza.
Well, Eliza, you've had a bit of your own back, as you call it. Have you had enough? Or are you going to be reasonable? Or do you want any more?
You want me back only to pick up your slippers and put up with your tempers and fetch and carry for you.
I haven't said I wanted you back at all.
Oh, indeed. Then what are we talking about?
About you, not about me. If you come back, I shall treat you just as I always have treated you. I can't change my nature, and I don't intend to change my manners. My manners are exactly the same as Colonel Pickering's.
That's not true. He treats a flower girl as if she was a duchess.
And I treated Duchess as if she were a flower girl.
I see. The same to everybody.
Just so.
Like father.
Well, without accepting the comparison at all points, Eliza, it's quite true that your father is not a snob, and that he will be quite at home in any station of life to which his eccentric destiny may call him. The great secret, Eliza, is not having bad manners or good manners or any particular sort of manners, but having the same manner for all human souls. In short, behaving as if you were in heaven, where there are no third-class carriages, and one soul is as good as another.
Amen. You are born a preacher.
The question is not whether I treated you rudely, but whether you have seen me treat anyone else better.
I don't care how you treat me. I don't mind your swearing at me. I don't mind a black eye. I've had one before this. But I won't be passed over.
Then get out of my way, for I won't stop for you. You talk about me as if I were a motor bus.
So you are a motor bus, all bounce and go, and no consideration for anyone. But I can do without you. Don't think I can't.
I know you can. I told you you could.
I know you did. You brute. You wanted to get rid of me.
Liar.
Thank you.
You never asked yourself, I suppose, whether I could do without you.
Don't you try to get round me. You'll have to do without me.
Oh, I can do without anybody. I have my own soul, my own spark of divine fire, but I shall miss you, Eliza. I have learnt something from your idiotic notions. I confess that humbly and gratefully. And I have grown accustomed to your voice and appearance. I like them, rather.
Well, you have both of them on your gramophone and your book of photographs. When you feel lonely without me, you can turn the machine on. It's got no feelings to hurt.
I can't turn your soul on. Leave me those feelings and you take away the voice and the face. They are not you.
Oh, you are a devil. You can twist the heart in a girl as easy as some could twist her arms to hurt her. Mrs. Pierce warned me time and time again. She has wanted to leave you, and you always got round to her at the last minute. And you don't care a bit for her, and you don't care a bit for me.
I care for life, for humanity, and you are a part of it that has come my way and been built into my house. What more can you or anyone ask?
I won't care for anybody that doesn't care for me.
Commercial principles, Eliza, like selling violets, isn't it?
Don't sneer at me.
I
Mean to sneer at me.
never have sneered in my life. Sneering doesn't become either the human face or the human soul. I'm expressing my righteous contempt for commercialism. I don't and won't trade in affection. You call me a brute because you couldn't buy a claim on me by fetching my slippers and finding my spectacles. You were a fool. I think a woman fetching a man's slippers is a disgusting sight. Did I ever fetch your slippers? I think a good deal more of you for throwing them in my face. No use slaving for me and then saying you want to be cared for. Who cares for a slave? If you come back for the sake of good fellowship, for you'll get nothing else. You've had 1,000 times as much out of me as I have out of you. And if you dare to set up your little dog's tricks of fetching and carrying slippers against my creation of a Duchess Eliza, I'll slam the door in your silly face.
What did you do it for if you didn't care for me?
Why, because it was my job.
Oh, you never thought of the trouble it would make for me.
Oh, would the world ever have been made if its maker had been afraid of making trouble? Making life means making trouble. There's only one way of escaping trouble, and that's killing things. Cowards, you notice, are always shrieking to have troublesome people killed.
I'm no preacher. I don't notice things like that. I don't notice. I notice that you don't notice me.
Eliza, you're an idiot. I waste the treasures of my Miltonic mind by spreading them before you. Once and for all, understand that I go my way and do my work without caring tuppence what happens to either of us. I am not intimidated like your father or your stepmother, so you can come back or go to the devil, which you please.
What am I to come back for?
For the fun of it. That's why I took you on.
And you may throw me out tomorrow if I don't do everything you want me to.
Yes! And you may walk out tomorrow if I don't do everything you want me to.
And live with my stepmother.
Yes. Or sell flowers.
Oh, if only I could go back to selling flowers from my flower basket. I should be independent of both you and father and all the world. Why did you take my independence from me? Why did I give it up? I'm a slave now, for all my fine clothes.
Not a bit. I'll adopt you as my daughter and settle money on you if you like. Or would you rather marry Pickering?
I wouldn't marry you if you asked me. And you're nearer my age than he is.
Then he is not than what he is.
I'll talk as I like. You're not my teacher now.
I don't suppose Pickering would. He's as confirmed an old bachelor as I am.
That's not what I want. And don't you think it. I've always had chaps, wanting me in that way. Freddie Hill writes me 2 and 3 times a day, just sheets and sheets.
Damn his impudence.
He has a right to if he likes, poor lad. And he does love me.
You have no right to encourage him.
Every girl has a right to be loved.
What, by fools like that?
Freddie is not a fool. And if he's weak and poor and wants me, then maybe he'd make me happier than my betters that bully me and don't want me.
Can he make anything of you? That's the point.
Perhaps I could make something of him. But I never thought of us making anything of one another, and you never think of anything else. I only want to be natural.
In short, you want me to be as infatuated about you as Freddie, is that it?
No, I don't. That's the sort of feeling that I don't want from you. And don't you be too sure of yourself or of me. I could have been a bad girl if I'd liked. I've seen more of some things than you, for all your learning. Girls like me can drag gentlemen down to make love to them easy enough. And they wish each other dead the next minute.
Of course they do. Then what in thunder are we quarreling about?
I want a little kindness. I know I'm not a proper girl. I'm a common, ignorant girl. And you a book-learned gentleman. But I'm not dirt under your feet. What I did, was not for the dresses and the taxis. I did it because we were pleasant together, and I came to care for you. Not to want you to make love to me, and not forgetting the difference between us, but more friendly-like.
Well, of course. That's just how I feel, and how Pickering feels. Oh, Eliza, you're a fool.
That's not a proper answer to give me.
It's all you'll get until you stop being a common idiot. If you're going to be a lady, you're going to have to give up feeling neglected if the men you know don't spend half their time sniveling over you and the other half giving you black eyes. If you can't stand the coldness of my sort of life and the strain of it, go back to the gutter. Work till you are more a brute than a human being, and then cuddle and squabble and drink till you fall asleep. Oh, it's a fine life, the life of the gutter. It's real, it's warm, it's violent. You can feel it in your thickest skin. You can taste it and smell it without any training or any work. Not like science and literature and classical music and philosophy and art. You find me cold, unfeeling, selfish, don't you? Very well. Be off with you to the sort of people you like. Marry some sentimental hog or other with lots of money and a thick pair of lips to kiss you and a thick pair of boots to kick you with. If you can't appreciate what you've got, you'd better get what you can appreciate.
Oh, you are a cruel tyrant. I can't talk to you. You turn everything against me. I'm always in the wrong. But you know very well all the time that you're nothing but a bully. You know I can't go back to the gutter, as you call it. And that I have no real friends in the world but you and the Colonel. You know well I couldn't bear to live with a low, common man after you two. And it's wicked and cruel of you to insult me by pretending I could. You think I must go back to Wimpole Street because I have nowhere else to go but father's. But don't you be too sure that you have me under your feet to be trampled on and talked to. I'll marry Freddie. I will. As soon as he's able to support me.
Rubbish! You shall marry an ambassador. You shall marry the Governor-General of India or the Lord Lieutenant of Ireland. Or somebody who wants a deputy queen. I'm not going to have my masterpiece thrown away on Freddie.
You think I like you to say that. But I haven't forgotten what you said a minute ago. And I won't be coaxed round as if I was a baby or a puppy. If I can't have kindness, I'll have independence.
Independence? That's middle-class blasphemy. We are all dependent on one another, every soul of us on earth.
I'll let you see whether I'm dependent on you. If you can preach, I can teach. I'll go be a teacher.
What'll you teach in heaven's name?
What you taught me. I'll teach phonetics. I'll offer myself as an assistant to Professor Nepine.
What? That impostor? That humbug? That toady ignoramus? Teach him my methods, my discoveries. You take one step in his direction and I'll wring your neck. Do you hear?
Wring away. What do I care? I knew you'd strike me someday. Aha. Now I know how to deal with you. What a fool I was not to think of it before. You can't take away the knowledge that you gave me. You said I had a finer ear than you, and I can be civil and kind to people, which is more than you can. Aha! That's done you, Henry Higgins, it has! Now I don't care that for your bullying and big talk. I'll advertise it in the papers that your duchess is only a flower girl that you taught, and that she'll teach anybody to be a duchess just the same in 6 months for 1,000 guineas. Oh, when I think of myself crawling under your feet and being trampled on and called names, when all the time I had only to lift up my finger to be as good as you, I could just kick myself.
You damned impudent girl, you. But it's better than snivelling. Better than fetching slippers and finding spectacles, isn't it? By George, Eliza, I said I'd make a woman of you, and I have. I like you like this.
Yes, you turn round and make up to me now that I'm not afraid of you. And I can do without you.
Of course I do, you little fool. 5 minutes ago you were a millstone around my neck. Now you're a tower of strength, a consort battleship. You and I and Pickering will be 3 old bachelors together instead of 2 men and a silly girl.
The carriage is waiting, Eliza. Are you ready?
Quite. Is the professor coming?
Certainly not. He can't behave himself at church. He makes remarks all the time on the clergyman's pronunciation.
Then I shall not see you again, Professor. Goodbye.
Goodbye, dear.
Goodbye, Mother. Oh, by the way, Eliza, order me a ham and Stilton cheese, will you? And buy me a pair of reindeer gloves, number 8s, and a tie to match that new suit of mine at Eel and Binman's. You can choose the color.
Buy them yourself.
I'm afraid you've spoiled that girl, Henry. But never mind, dear. I'll buy you the tie and gloves.
Oh, don't bother. She'll buy them enough for me. Goodbye.
As we take our final bow, we want to thank you for watching the production and ask that you make a donation to a local theater to show your appreciation.